I hope you are all ready to really fill your mind with phenomenal ideas. Look here for a minute. Put this up, Scott. I want you to really soak this up. You, just think this, you can create your own economy. That's an absolute fact, that you can create your own economy. We're going to talk this week about this stuff. It's called money. Most people want it and haven't got it. I'm going to talk to you about how to get it. Because you can have all the money you want. A man sat down with me in 1961 and he put an R on a sheet of paper. Then he put 3 letters down beside it. And he said, Bob, let that R represent results, and the H and W's, that's happiness, health, and wealth. Then he asked me, he said, do you think I'm a happy guy? I thought, yeah, pretty happy. I said, he said, have you ever seen me sick? I had to admit I hadn't. He said, have you ever seen me when I was broke? Had to admit I hadn't. This guy always had a roll of this stuff. Always. And that was the first thing that caught my attention because I never had any. Now, this is in 1961. Gas, you could buy gas 40 cents a gallon. So I was always looking for $2 to get some gas. We'd always buy 5 gallons of gas. Never filled the tank up. Never had enough money to. I was always broke. And he said, why don't you change your results? He said, you're going to be one of the most miserable people I've ever met. And I was an unhappy guy. He said, you're always sick and you're always broke. Now, he was being kind. I was actually earning $4,000 a year at the time, but I owed $6,000. I owed everybody and his brother money. And I could never pay them because I never had any money. I'd get paid, it'd all be gone. And he said, why don't you change that? It never entered my mind that I could. It really didn't. And I think there's a lot of people like that. We'd get up, just go to work, and hope things would get better. He said, do you ever read anything? And I said, no, I can't read. Now, that wasn't true. I could, not well, but I could. I've since found out I read about as well as most people. Most people read at about a grade 7 level. And that's because we learned to read by the time we're in grade 7, and we never improve upon the skill from that point on. Well, he said, why don't you take this book and read it? This is Think and Grow Rich. Then he told me, he said, if you read this book every day, do exactly what I tell you, you can have anything you want. Well, I did not believe that. But you know something? I believed he believed it. And so I decided I was going to listen to him and follow his instruction. But 1 year later, I was earning $175,000 a year. Now, I wasn't actually earning $175,000 a year. I was earning $12,500 a month. But if you annualize that, that's $175 a year. So the year had passed, and I wasn't at 175, but I was, heading towards that. And I had no idea what was happening. Now, there's a couple of lessons here. One, he said, do you have a goal? Now, this is before anything happened. And I said, no, I don't have a goal. I have carried, ever since that day, I have carried a goal card with me every day. Every day. And I've got an empty one. Every time I meet somebody and I find out they don't have a goal, I give them one. On one side of this goal card, it says, this great dream, this surging, dynamic thing, invisible to all the world, except to the person who holds it, is responsible for every great advance of humankind. That was written by Earl Nightingale. That's on one side of the goal card, and then you're right, you're going the other side. Well, I wrote I wanted to have $25,000 by New Year's Day of 1970. I wrote that on in 1961. I didn't believe it would happen. And I didn't believe it would happen at all. But I've carried that in my cart, or in my pocket. Not that particular goal, but that was the one I was carrying then. And when I started to read it, he said, read that every day. So I started to read it, and what happened was I started to hear people talking about earning money. I never heard them talking about earning money before. All I was ever talking about was debt. But reading this card, I started to hear people talk about it. Now, I started to create an awareness of earning money is what happened to me. And that's what's got to happen to you if you really want to earn a lot of money. And one thing led to another, and I heard a guy say there was good money cleaning floors. I said, I'm not proud, I'll clean floors. So I started to clean one office, $15 at a time to wash the floor, washed it twice a month, $30 a month. And then I got another office to clean at $65 a month. Now I'm up to $95. That was a lot of money. See, I was only earning $400 a month. Now I've got an extra $100 coming in. Well, you know, at the end of the year, I was at $12,500 a month. It was absolutely incredible. Now, I'm just shortcutting this whole story, but 5 years later, I was doing a lot more money. I was doing over $1 million a year. Now, I was earning all this money, and I had absolutely no idea what happened to change me. See, I was doing the right thing, but I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I was just doing it. But I wasn't charting it and looking it down. Well, this is how you change. My life had really changed. I had offices, to clean offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, and London, England. I'm over there, and I'm earning over $1 million, and I'm just throwing it all over the place. I go down to Playboy on Park Lane, right beside the London Hilton, play roulette. I didn't care if I lost, and as a result, I usually won. One day, I thought, what the heck happened? How did my life change so dramatically? And I didn't know. I did not know. But I felt like I was being irresponsible. And I thought, I'm going to figure out why my life changed so much. My life changed so dramatically. Do you know, it took me 9.5 years. And when I figured it out, all I wanted to do was teach this to other people. And that's what I've been doing ever since. Now, I want you to look at all these words, because that's what we're going to cover here this week. We're talking about money. We're going to get into paradigms, understanding the mind, perception, decision, attraction, discipline, service. We're going to get into mind and paradigms today. But I want you to look at that. Pay real close attention to that. Because this week, that is what I'm going to teach you. I am going to teach you exactly how to change your life from where you are to where you want to be. And I'm going to get you to remember it. I'm going to get you to remember how you changed. You see that there? Dad's money pump. Dad's money pump. Now, why would I put that? It sounds so ridiculous. I put it there deliberately. I wanted it to be ridiculous. I have worked with Harry Lorraine, who has the best trained memory in the world. Harry's still living. He's 95 years old. I'll soon be 95 years old myself. But at any rate, Harry's 95. He was the best trained memory in the world. And he said, to develop your memory, it's ridiculous association. Ridiculous association. Let's suppose there's this one thing I want you to remember here. A sand timer. I want you to see the sand timer running around the room that you're in. I want you to visualize this running around the room you're in. Now, you know that's ridiculous, but that's why you'll remember. You see the sand timer running all around the room. Well, I want you to look at all these words, but I want you to remember Dad's money pump. And that will help you remember the words. That's ridiculous, but that'll help you remember the words, because this is what we're going to study. This is what we're going to study this week. Now, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you right there. That's it. Then I'm going to tell you. I'm going to go through and I'm going to explain it. At the end of the week, I'm going to tell you what I told you. I'm going to explain the whole thing. I want you to remember everything I'm telling you because I want you to act on it. I want you to act on it. Repetition is the first law of learning. It's getting involved in the same things over and over and over again. See this book? I've been reading it every day since 1961. Now, after Oh, well, it's not an effort anymore. It's a habit. I carry it everywhere I go. I got an elastic on it because the book's fallen apart. It's literally fallen apart. See that? Now, this particular copy, my brother gave to me in 1963. I'd been reading another copy for a couple of years before that. I'll put this back where we got it with the elastic. So I want you to really think. I started to listen to that record. I was reading this book, and I found it on a record. Earl Nightingale had condensed this book and put it on a record. And then I found his Strangest Secret record. That is probably one of the best recordings I have ever listened to. I used to listen to that every day. Every day. And you know, strange things happen. I went to meet him. In 1966, I went to meet him. And I was with him for 1 hour. Earl Nightingale is the Dean of Personal Motivation. He and his partner that stand there with him, Lloyd Conant, they really started the industry that I'm a part of now, the personal development industry, in recorded fashion. And I was leaving his office. I had been there for an hour. It was phenomenal. I'll never forget it. He was at 333 North Michigan. Now, he's gone now, God bless him, but he was a phenomenal individual. And I said, Earl, what is the big deal? What is the big deal? He said, there's no big deal, Bob. He said, it's simply a matter of deciding what you love doing and then dedicate your life to it. He said, the problem with most people is they never figure out what they love doing. Well, you know, I've been listening to recordings since his recordings since 1961. This was 1966. He said the problem with most people is they don't know what they want to do, what they love doing. Well, I knew exactly what I loved doing, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do what he was doing. That was in 1966. 1968, I was his vice president of sales. That's right. I moved my family to Chicago. I was his vice president of sales. That was one of the most interesting times of my entire life. Everything in my life started to change. And I was working with two of the most phenomenal people in the personal development industry. I was there for 5 years. It was a phenomenal time. Absolutely incredible. When I left there in 1973, I sat down and I wrote on a card, on my goal card, that I was going to have a company that operated all over the world. I knew that this material should be taught because I knew that repetition was the key to learning it. And just giving it to it on a record wasn't going to do it. People listen to it a couple of times, they think they knew it. You see, one of the problems is when we go to school, we read the book, they give us an exam in the book, and then they say, we've got it if we pass the exam. Well, we haven't got it at all. We haven't got it at all. One thing I noticed about Earl, when I was in his office, he had a book holder on his desk. This is called a book holder. You see that? I have that on my desk. Why do I have it on my desk? Because Earl had it on his. And I got a book holder, and I have this book held open. And I asked him at the time, I said, Earl, what is that? He said, well, it's a book holder. And I said, why do you have it? He said, I want to read those 2 pages every day. I said, how long do you read them? Well, he said, different lengths of time. He said, I read them till I see myself doing what he's talking about. He said, you see, Bob, most people just read and then they go to a new book. They're absolutely brilliant. They gather all kinds of information, but they're not doing it. School has us learning a lot of information, but we're not doing it. Well, I started doing it. I started doing what he was doing, and everything started to change. Now, everyone wants freedom. Everyone wants freedom. We want time and money freedom. You are not an exception. You will be amazed at how much free time you have when you never have to think about money. It's absolutely incredible when you stop and really start to think about it. The mind, it's all about the mind. Remember in Dad's Money? Dad's Money Pump? Mind was in there. It's all about the mind. Your marvelous mind. You see, understanding your mind and working in harmony with the laws governing the mind is absolutely essential if you want more of this stuff. Now look at. Anybody can get this. You can have all you want. All you want. But you've got to earn it. What we're going to talk about is how to earn it. How to earn all you want. It all starts inside. If you don't do it inside, it's never going to happen outside. If you're going to do it inside, you've got to understand how the mind functions. You must. Look at this. Success is 5% strategy, 95% mindset. Now, I didn't always know that. I was sitting with a woman. She's a distributor, consultant of ours, Catherine Weischuppel in Germany. I remember I was interviewing her. Gina, my assistant, was sitting with me. She was taking notes. And Catherine said, success is 5% strategy, 95% mindset. I'd never heard that before. I thought about it and I thought, you know something, she's right. That resonated with everything in my mind. It felt perfectly comfortable. 5% strategy, 95% mindset. Well, there's the man that really made an enormous difference in my life, and I met him after I started with Gil Conant, because he's the one that really taught me what I know about the mind, to start off. I had an enormous amount. Keep in mind, I had started studying this in 1961. I was addicted to studying this because I knew that the secrets in life were tied up in these books. In fact, you can have anything you want by getting into enough books and getting enough of the information. Val Vanderwall sat down with me and he said, Bob, most people have no idea how the mind works. Val's gone now. That's a picture of him taken at the $1 Million Forum. The $1 Million Forum is something I started with Mark Victor Hansen, Bernie Torman, Jack Canfield. We were teaching people how to earn $1 million by setting up multiple sources of income. We'll talk about that this week. And in fact, that's where Mark and Jack started Chicken Soup for the Soul in there. But Vanderwall, he sat down with me and said, I'm going to show you something about the mind. And he talked about a man that he had worked with, got to know. And he said, I want you to look at the mind, and I want you to look at your mind and at your paradigms. Because he said paradigms, Bob, are controlling your life. And he said there was a doctor in 1934, a Dr. Thurman Fleet, who was very involved in the healing arts. He stated the mind is an activity, it's not a thing. No one has ever seen the mind. In order to gain clarity and eliminate confusion, he said, I'm going to create an image of the mind. No one has ever seen the mind. Now think of this for a moment. A lot of people believe that the mind is the brain. The mind is not the brain. The brain is not the mind any more than your hand is. The brain is an electronic switching station. The mind thinks, it activates brain cells. That's what thinking is. It's mental activity. And as you activate the brain cells, you alter the vibration that this instrument, our body, is in. And when it alters the vibration, you change what you attract into your life. Well, this good doctor said, there's a problem in the healing arts. He said, we're treating the body for disease. And he said, we're treating symptoms. We're not treating the cause of the problem at all. If you're going to treat the cause of the problem, the cause starts in the mind. You're always working from a higher to a lower potential. Think of this for a moment. No one knows what electricity is. No one. No one alive knows what electricity is. But we do know if you're working with electricity, you must work from a higher to a lower potential. Always. And if you try and go contrary to that, you'll get no use out of the electricity. You must work from a higher to a lower potential. The only limit on the electricity, we say this is electricity, the lights. That's an expression of electricity. And the only difference here The difference in expression of electricity is the size of the light bulb. Put in a bigger bulb, you have a greater expression, more light. The only limit to the mind is on the body. It's the limit that's placed on the form through which it flows, the body. So he said, I'm going to make a picture of the mind. And he said, I want that to represent the mind. And he started to talk about it. He said, that is the conscious mind, that is the subconscious mind, and this is the body. Now, if you want to earn money, you must understand how the mind functions, because it's the mind that attracts this stuff. This doesn't happen by accident. You see, a lot of people believe that you got to be really smart to earn a lot of money. You don't have to be really smart to earn a lot of money at all. I wasn't very smart, and I was earning over $1 million a year. You don't have to be smart to earn money. You'll find people leaving the most prestigious universities in the world with degrees coming right off the end of a business card. And they're broke, and they don't know how to earn money. Being smart isn't it. You have to be aware. There's a big difference. You see, we have got lost and fallen in love with developing the intellect. We want to develop awareness. I want you to become aware in this week of how your mind functions, how money is attracted to you. Money must be earned. You must earn it. This stuff has to be earned. People think you earn money going to work. That's absurd. You don't work for money. You provide service to earn money. Now, the drawing you see there is, without question, the most valuable idea I have ever learned. The conscious mind, the subconscious, and the body. The body is the instrument of the mind. So let's look at it. It's essential you gain an understanding of this. Your conscious mind is interesting. It's very interesting. So is the subconscious and the body. The conscious mind is your thinking mind. They're thinking. See, there's a power that flows to and through you. There's a power flowing into your consciousness right now. It's flowing into your mind right now. A phenomenal power. Spirit, energy is flowing into your conscious mind. And you think. And you have, that's your educated mind. That's where you start to gather all kinds of information. That's where your intellect is resident. Do you know what your intellectual factors are? Most people don't. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the power that you've got locked up there in your conscious mind. It's absolutely incredible. That's where the intellect is resident. Now, the subconscious operates quite different than the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is your emotional mind. It's totally different than the conscious mind. See, the conscious mind has the ability to choose. The subconscious does not. Conscious mind has the ability to choose. The conscious mind can accept or reject. The subconscious mind cannot do that. The subconscious mind can only accept. It has absolutely no ability to reject. And the subconscious mind has no ability to originate. Your conscious mind has the ability to originate. You're a creative being. You can originate ideas. Now, your subconscious mind must accept anything you turn over to it. See, the conscious mind chooses, the subconscious must accept it. And the only way to get to the subconscious is through the conscious. There is no other way to get to the subconscious mind except through the conscious. Your subconscious mind cannot reject. I'll tell you something else. It has no ability to determine what's planted in it. Your imagination is phenomenal. Your subconscious mind must determine, or cannot determine, the difference between what's real and what you've imagined. You have the ability to imagine beautiful ideas. You can imagine your life in a certain way, and if you get emotionally involved and stay feeding that idea, it has to happen as sure as it's dark out tonight. Now, watch this information. This is on the mind. Now, I think you know you're not going to devour all this all at once. You're just not going to do it. Now let's look. With that information I've given you, let's look here. There's the conscious mind. There's you today. You're getting information from social media, from other people, from Netflix, from podcasts. It's pouring into your conscious mind. And because you have the ability to think, remember I said you could accept or reject it? Most of that information that's coming at you is negative information. You got the ability to reject that. Just say, get out of here. Now look, you can say, I'm not accepting it. Get out of here. But you know something? Most people don't do that. What happens? Well, the truth is they're not thinking. And because they're not thinking, their mind's wide open. What did we say about the subconscious? It had no ability to reject. See, your subconscious mind is immoral. It's like the earth. You can plant anything in it you want, and it cannot reject it. Your subconscious mind is very powerful. And look at this. Why is it left like that? That's the paradigm. You're literally programmed to leave your mind wide open. How did that happen? Well, let's take a look at how it happened. Let's close the window on this for a moment and go over here. Now look at here. You said this is you today. We're going over here. This is you as an infant. I want you to think of babies. I have great-grandchildren today, and that's the way they arrive on the scene. Their mind is wide open. Everything that's going on around them is going right into their subconscious mind. It just keeps dumping into their subconscious mind. And you know something? That's how the paradigm's formed. Now, let's take a look at the paradigm for a moment. The paradigm enables you to eat. The paradigm enables you to get dressed. It enables you to drive a car. It enables you to do all kinds of things. It enables you to do almost everything you do. The paradigm is a program that controls your behavior. It controls almost all of your habitual behavior. And that paradigm controls the language we speak. See, we learned to speak a language before we could even talk. We were learning the language. That language is just stuff pouring into our subconscious mind. You very likely like the food your parents liked. Almost everything we do was programmed in at an early age. Now look at this. Here we are here, 20, 30, 40 years later doing the same damn thing. It's almost inconceivable that people would be doing what they were programmed to do as infants, but they keep living that way. You see, a paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior is habitual. So let's go back and look at it again for a moment. Here we are as infants. I want you to think of when you were an infant. Was there a lot of this stuff around? Was there a lot of money? Did you live very well? Now you probably be thinking, well, we live fairly well. Yeah. Was there an abundance of money? I mean, could they get anything they want? Probably not. You see, our situation, our financial situation, has usually been programmed at that point right there as little children. Now, this is rather wild, but it's also true. As strange as it is, that's the way it works. We've been programmed at a very early age. And here we are here, years later, same thing. Let me give you an example. When I first met Linda, it was 40 years ago. And she was out shopping for food one day, and she said, what would you like? I said, I'd like some turnip. She said, turnip? What's that? Well, I said, tried to explain it to her. Oh, she said, we don't eat that. We feed that to the pigs. I said, really? We were thinking about it. And she said, we eat the green of the turnip. I said, what's that? She said, well, that's the green, the top of it. The turnip is a root and has green on the top. We eat that. I said, isn't that strange? We feed that to the pigs. Now, Linda was raised in southern Alabama and Florida. So she was raised in a totally different culture than I was raised in. They eat the green of the turnips, we eat the turnip. Today, Linda and I don't eat turnip at all. We don't eat the green or the root. We're compromised, you see. Now think. I want you to think of what was it like when you were a child. Now I'm going to tell you what it was like when I was a child. I was living way up in northern Canada as a little boy in a pulp wood mill, pulp lumber mill. We lived in a little log cabin. It was about 25 yards from the railroad track. In fact, when the railroads went by, when the rail train went by, the cabin would shake. Bears would come up and look in the window. Now, the schoolhouse was right next door to the little log cabin. It was a church, too. And we went to school there. I just used to wander in there. I was only a little kid. That was where I first went to school. And the teacher in there, she taught everybody. Didn't matter what age you were. Everybody got taught. Same schoolhouse. This was during the Great Depression. This was in 1934 to 1939, right in the heart of the Depression. Then in 1939, the whole world went to war. My father and everybody else's father, they went off to war. So we had no fathers at home. Our mothers were all working, our grandmothers were looking after us. Now think, this is where I'm growing up. There was all kinds of lack and limitation. That's what I was programmed with. And that's what I had to change. Now, I don't know what you were programmed with, but I do know whatever it is, if you don't change it, it's going to control the rest of your life. Now, the paradigm, it's a mental program that has almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior, and almost all of your behavior is habitual. So look here for a moment. This is really important that we get this straight. School gave us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us how to alter our paradigms. Now think about this. Therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. See, it's not that we don't know how to do stuff, it's that we don't do what we already know how to do. Now look here for a moment. We have superior knowledge, inferior results. That causes confusion and frustration. We know a lot better. Why do we get such terrible results? Well, let's take a look over here. We'll put the model back up again. School piled all kinds of information into our consciousness. However, the results don't match all the information. See, the results are not good, and yet the person knows a lot. It isn't the knowledge that produces the results. The paradigm produces the results. And if a person is going to change results, they have to gain an understanding of how to change the paradigm. Now, that's part of what we're going to talk about this week. Because if you don't change your paradigm, you're not going to change the results. You see, if you want to earn more of this, you've got to change what's going on in your subconscious mind. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. You just won't do it. Now, I'm really good at earning this stuff. I'm very good at it. I've been studying this for a long time. And if you want to change your results, you've got to change that paradigm. It's essential. And most people don't know that. Now, let's take a look at what your paradigm controls. It's very important you really study this. Your paradigm controls your perception. You go back to Dad's money again, that was one of the P's. Remember we said Dad's money pump? Well, that was one of the P's, is perception. When you change your perception, everything begins to change. Everything. You change the way you look at something, what you look at is going to change. Perception controls all kinds of things. Most people never really stop and think that. When you start to change your perception of this, you see what you're looking at here is paper, it's money. That is 3 $100 bills, okay? It's paper. This is not money. This represents money. This is an instrument that represents money. Money is an idea. It's an idea. It's a medium of exchange that we trade for other people's products or services. And if we want more money, we can earn it. It is not that hard. The earning of money is it's governed by an absolute law. Think this whole universe operates by law. Winter never follows winter. If I drop this, it's going to go down. It cannot go up. That's an absolute law. The night always follows the day. That's a law. The laws of the universe are precise. We talk a lot about the laws of the universe here at the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Your perception of a situation controls what's going on inside. Your perception of this and how to get this, how to earn this, and earn it in abundance has to change if you really want to earn more money. Perception. Your paradigm controls your use of time. Do you know that everybody gets exactly the same amount of time? We get all there is. So it's what we do with our time that really makes a difference. Now think of that. I'll give you, here, let's shift our perception on time. Let's suppose that you studied this for 1 hour a day. Just 1 hour. You got 24 of them. Just 1 hour. The man that gave me the book suggested that. He said, do you know that that is 9 40-hour weeks in a year? Study how to earn money for 1 hour a day. That's 9 40-hour weeks of concentrated study a year. 9 40-hour weeks. If we learn how to utilize our time, time cannot be managed. It cannot, only activities can be managed. Time cannot be managed, but it can be wasted. Creativity. Do you know that when I left public school, my school teacher, Miss Strawn, God bless her, she'd be long gone now, but she said to me, Bob, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to Melbourne Collegiate. Oh, Bob, don't go there. Go to Danforth Tech, Bob, and get a trade. You'll never do well in business. So what I know, I mean, this is Miss Strawn. She's like God. So off I go. Danforth Tech. I was only there a month. I shoved my thumb into a bandsaw. I cut the end of it off. They had to sew it back on. Do you know, whenever it's cold, that thumb hurts still. 80 years later, it still hurts. I am extremely creative. Very creative. But for years, I didn't know that. Do you know that you're creative? You are very creative. I don't know if you're developing your creativity or utilizing it. You are God's highest form of creation. Your effectiveness, you know, your mind controls your effectiveness. And your effectiveness controls your productivity. You can become much more effective at everything you do if you make up your mind to do it. I am forever thinking, how can we do it bigger? How can we do it better? How can we do it faster? Because the way is here. Just stop and think of these things. My goodness, it was just somebody's thinking. It was an idea. And look at it today. I can just press a button. It'll cause a number to ring on the other side of the world. And the two of us can sit here looking at each other, carrying on conversation. That was an idea in somebody's mind. They were very creative and very effective. And therefore, they produced this beautiful phone. You see, when I was about 15, we didn't have a phone. That was when I got a phone, when we were 15. And the phone was one of those great big things that you hold, you know. And it was a party line. God knows how many other people. There must have been 50 other people, homes on that party line. Why didn't we have one? Well, there was two reasons. One, you had to have a lot of money. And we were poor. We did not have a lot of money. So we couldn't get a phone. Well, eventually we did. All right? And not only that, there weren't that many frequencies. You see, a phone operates on a specific frequency. There's a specific number for this phone. And that dictates the frequency that it works on. Okay? Now, when you really understand that, you can change a lot of things in your life. There is an infinite number. We didn't always know that. We thought there was a limited number of frequencies. Therefore, you can't have more phones. Now we know there's an infinite number of frequencies, and you can have all kinds of phones. And we do. Effectiveness, more productivity. Logic controls more than anything else. Logic stops everything we're going to do. It was illogical that we could fly in the air. Anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the world. You cannot fly. Two young bicycle mechanics in Dayton, Ohio, in 1903, I think it was, they knew they could get a plane in the air, and they eventually did. They were not aeronautical engineers. The American government had spent millions of dollars trying to get a plane in the air. Can't fly. Two young bicycle mechanics got us in the air. See, logic stops most people from doing most things. You'll hear people say, well, that is just illogical. That is totally ridiculous. Your goals should be ridiculous. Your goals should be illogical. Your goal should be right out there where you can go. Now listen, your paradigm controls your ability to earn money. It definitely controls your ability to earn money, so you pay close attention to your paradigm. Your paradigm controls your ability to earn money. Your paradigm controls you to a very large degree. Now look at all you're boxed in. Every time you go to change anything, you hit the wall. It seems like you're boxed in. Now, when you go to change your paradigm, those walls come down. When you make up your mind to change your paradigm, the walls come down. Now, when the walls come down, you don't hit the wall anymore when you go to change. The walls aren't there. They're not there. Now, get this. When you change the paradigm, I want you just imagine the change that can take place in your life. There's an enormous change can take place in your life. That change will be huge, and that change will be permanent. This is the beautiful part of this. This is what we've got to understand. It's not only huge, it's permanent. Look at this for a moment. Let's suppose we just change the way we utilize our time. If you just worked one more hour a day, how would that affect your ability to earn money? Now think of that for a moment. If you study this for 1 hour a day, how would that attract your ability to earn money? You see, I started to study this, and my income started to change. I was earning 100,000, then 400,000, then $1 million. One day I realized there's literally no end to how much of this stuff you can earn. Then I started to find the more generous you are, the more money you're going to earn. Now that sounds really absurd. The more money you give away, the more comes back to you. That is a law of our being. Now, some people don't want to part with it. They don't want to let it go. They work hard to get it. The more you let go, the more comes in. Now, look at this real carefully. You just work or change something for 1 hour a day. It makes an enormous difference in your ability to earn money. This idea of paradigm, it's huge. You've got one. Now, I want you to stop and think of who formed the paradigm. Your parents, my grandmother, my aunts and uncles, my neighbors, the teachers. None of these people really knew how to earn money. I'm not saying they're bad people. They're not bad people. They're very good people. But they didn't know this. They didn't know this, so they couldn't do anything. You see, we don't even know how to change it. Now let's take a look here. Let's take a look at organized education, and let's take a look at the Proctor Institute. I want you to really pay attention here. You can really learn something this week, but you've got to give us your undivided attention. This is not a game. There's you. Those little things that come up on you, that's your senses. You can hear, see, smell, taste, touch. Your conscious, your subconscious, and your body. You go to school. You go to school and you listen. You hear the teacher. We hear with our ears. And because we hear, we gather information. Gathering information and learning are two totally different things. Gathering information are stacking the books up there in the conscious mind. Then periodically, as you go through the year, they come up and they give you a test. They want to find out how much you know. And they give you a test. They ask you questions. If you answer the questions right, you pass. You win. You get an education. And they call that an education. It is not an education. It's gathering information. We treat education as if it's something you can fill up and put a cap on. You can't do that. That is not knowing. It's not knowing. Now let's take a look at what learning is. You don't learn by just hearing it. You've got to really listen, and you listen with your emotional mind. When you listen, that's when you learn. See, learning is when we consciously entertain an idea. That's what you're doing right now. Then get emotionally involved with these ideas. When you get consciously and emotionally involved, you're going to act on the idea. And when you act on the idea, you're doing it, so you change the result. It's because of what you do, and the results change. When the result changes, that's feedback to your consciousness. You learned. You learned if you think about this, get emotionally involved and do it, you'll change the result. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Pretty interesting. Well, I'm going to tell you something. It's only through repetition that this happens. When repetition, why repetition is necessary when you're changing paradigms. Now, I want you to really think, really listen, and really give me your attention. The white line here represents the sound of a recording playing, or that would be me talking. The red line will represent you listening to the recording. Okay? I would listen to the same recording over and over and over. There's the sound of the recording playing. This is the sound of me listening to the recording. So I'm listening to the recording, and bang, an idea hits, and off I go on a thought trip. Now, I'm not listening to the recording. I'm thinking about what I'm listening to, the idea. So as I'm up there playing with this idea, the sound still plays. Do you notice the white line's still going underneath? And then I quit thinking about that idea, and I come down and I start listening again. Then I go along and bang, another idea hits, and off I go on another thought trip. So do you see, I could listen to the same recording every day for a month, not listen to the same idea, not think about the same idea over and over and over again. Well, you've got to keep entertaining that idea over and over and over. That's how paradigms are formed, and that's how they can be changed. You see, the second time you put it on, you don't listen to the same thing. How was your paradigm formed? It was in your little life. That was when the ideas was dumped into your subconscious mind. That's how the paradigm was formed. And that's what you've got to do here. Now look at, if you listen to the same recording again, you don't come down on the same spot. You know, you say, if this would happen, then you'd listen to it just a few times and you got it. But that's not what happens. It's next time you listen, you stop at a different point. The point is, you could listen to the same recording 50 times and still hear something. I never heard that before. Well, you did hear it before, but you weren't listening when it was played. This is so important. And this is how we change the paradigm. Now look here for a moment. There's the mind, okay? And there's the body, okay? The conscious mind, the subconscious. You see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Those are senses that are hooked up to the conscious mind, okay? That's how most people live. They just live by the outside world, by what they hear, see, smell, taste, touch. They never understand that their conscious mind is also their intellectual mind, and they have these higher faculties. Let me tell you something. You are different than all the other form of animal life on the planet. All the other little creatures running around the planet are completely at home in their environment because they blend in. You and I are totally disoriented in our environment. We don't blend in. We're totally disoriented. Little animals are completely at home in their environment because they do blend in. They operate by instinct, which is perfect. We had instinct removed and higher faculties put into place. We have these higher faculties. We can create our own environment. Now look here for a moment. You have perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, reason. Okay? These are enormous, powerful parts of our personality. We were taught nothing about these. You got nothing about these in school. And you know something? They're all sitting right here in our conscious mind, waiting to be utilized. Now, if you really want to earn a lot of money, you're going to have to start using those faculties. Now, all week we're going to be teaching you more about the mind, and the objective is to teach you how to earn this stuff. Everybody that's on this teaching you knows how to earn that stuff. They're all doing very well. Okay? I'm going to look forward to being back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I want you to remember every bit of this. Remember what we said? Dad's money pump. Get all those words down because it's very important. One of the words was memory. Down here.